Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Oh, y'all, I'm so out of key. Don't even worry about it. So, welcome back to the Girl Fight Back podcast. This is your host, T. I'm glad to have you here with me. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see your girl is braiding her hair for the first time. Whew. When I tell y'all it took all of 6 hours the first day that I did it. I retook everything down and redid it, and it took 9 hours because I took it down and redid it. But this is the first time I've ever braided my hair, let alone fed in hair into my hair. Like, it was wild. Your girl was out here thinking she was Superwoman and could do it all. But that's neither here nor there. The topic for today's episode is one that I am let's say it's hitting me hard. It's hitting me in my chest, in my forehead. You know how they say hard heads make for soft behinds? Yeah, that's me. I'm hard-headed, and as y'all can see, the forehead big, the head big. It's hard. It's just so hard. But yeah. So today's topic is accountability. And baby, it's a hard topic for me because it's not something that I am particularly great at, because I always have the mindset that as long as something's in motion, as long as you're doing something, you're being progressive. You're doing something right. Regardless if you're doing something progressive towards like what your goal is. Let's say your goal is to make money. As long as you're working, in my eyes, you're doing something progressive to make money. Now, if you're spending all your money on food, clothes, shoes, that's not being progressive. But hey, you going to work every day. So in my head, it stops at what does it take to save money? Well, step one, you got to go to work. My accountability usually stops at step 1 or 2. And that's like, accountability for me, you have to follow through the whole process. It's the whole process. And the theme of this podcast is showing you guys my process, helping you guys understand your process, and being okay with that, being okay with the process in general. But in order to be okay with the process, you have to be accountable in the process. And that's one thing that has been super life altering and changing for me, is learning that you have to be accountable for the whole process, because there may be things, you may be on step 10 right now, and you may have did some shortcuts on step 2 and 3, and now you're having to be accountable and reap the repercussions and the consequences of taking shortcuts in step 2 and step 3 right now in step 10. And now you just have to deal with it. And it's a lot, y'all. So let's jump into this week's episode and let's get to it. So the biggest thing with accountability for me that I am learning and going to be implementing is I'm going to start by breaking things down. So, for example, this is going to be my first challenge. So for the next 12 weeks, I'm doing a 12-week challenge, and every 12 weeks, I'll do a challenge based off of a goal I have. And I'll take a week off before I start a new one. Maybe a week or 2, depending on what the goal is. But for the first 12 weeks, my main and only focus is going to be my money, financials. Getting my savings account where I want it, getting my checking account where I want it, getting my credit where I want it, things of that nature. Just stacking my money, getting everything together like I want. And how I'm going to hold myself accountable is out of those 12 weeks, I'm going to make a goal of how much I need to be bringing in every week. This goes for my main job, my side job, any side hustles that I have. So I work full-time, I work part-time at a different job, and I have side hustles. And I will be over every week, reviewing how much money from each I brought in and making sure at the end of the day that I'm bringing in the set amount that I've set for myself for that week. So if my goal is to bring in $400 a month, which it is not, by the way, I don't know how I could survive off of that because I have a 14-year-old child who could eat $400 in 3 seconds. Anyways, but if it was $400, for example, I would need to bring in $100 a week because there's about 4 weeks in every month. So at the end of the week, I would look at everything that I've done, all of the money that I've got in, based off the hours I work on my full-time job. Even though I only get paid every 2 weeks, I would just make sure my hours equated to $100 in addition to my part-time job and my side hustles, and just making sure that, okay, I've made the amount of money that I need to make this week. This helps me stay accountable for the bigger goal, which at the end of the 12 weeks has the total amount of money that I want to have in my savings account, in my checkings account, how much towards my credit that I need to be paying things off, whatever. So this is how I'm going to be holding myself accountable. I'm going to break down my goals into 12 weeks and go from there. And we'll see how that works. So the first 12 weeks actually started yesterday. So every day I'm evaluating what I'm doing every day to meet my weekly goal. Those weekly goals are going to help me hit my monthly goals, and those monthly goals are going to help me reach at the end of the 12 weeks, which is about 3 months, going to help me hit that goal. And just holding myself accountable to every single day. Every day is a new opportunity. And even if I come up short one day, that means I just need to go harder the next day, no matter what it is, and make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Another thing that I probably should have started off with is the first thing you do when it comes to accountability, or one of the first things that I've done, is one, get an accountability partner. So I'm not talking about one of your friends or family members that likes to stay the same or isn't moving the needle in their life and moving forward and accomplishing things. I'm talking about somebody who's really going to give you some constructive criticism, not things that are going to necessarily just like tear you down. It may hurt your feelings, but find someone who has your best interest at heart, and that no matter what they say, that it will help you become a better person. Because you know how they say, if you live in a place too long, like that stench, that smell, it's going to become so familiar to you to where you don't smell it anymore. And then you have someone come over and visit, and that smell bothers them as soon as they hit the door. Well, that's your life. You're so close to who you are as a person that sometimes you don't even realize that you're not operating at the highest level that you could be operating at. So find a friend, a close family member, someone you trust, even your therapist. For me, one of my accountability partners is my therapist. One of them. I have 2 or 3 people that I truly, truly trust to hold me accountable to different things. And you don't have to have the same accountability partner for every aspect. So if you have an accountability partner for your weight loss journey, that person doesn't have to hold you accountable for your finances, because they may be really good about staying in shape, but they could be horrible at their finances. Find someone who is good at what it is you're trying to accomplish, or someone who is just good at being accountable for themselves as well, and again speaks to you with constructive criticism and not in a tone or a way that's going to tear you down. You don't need that. You need to be built up, but you do need to be, hey, you need a reality check. You need to get your life together. So a recent conversation that I've had is with my father. He told me some things that hurt my little feelings, but that's okay. I love my dad regardless, but it's something that I needed to hear. He listed 3 things for me that I absolutely need to work on. And it opened my eyes like, whoo, okay, Tiana, let's turn it up a notch. So, and plus, as a single mom raising a boy, I definitely want to lead as an example. There's certain things that I'll never be able to do for him that my male counterparts, as in like my father, my grandfather, other male figures in my life that are role models for him, will have to do. However, I want to be a good example to him as best as I can be. So one thing that's really important for men is them being accountable, because a lot of times, a lot of the weight and pressures in a household does fall on the man of the house. And one day my son is going to be the man of his own house. I'm not raising just my son. I'm raising somebody's father, somebody's husband, somebody's CEO, somebody's classmate, somebody's whatever. I'm raising something to someone else. I'm not just raising my son. So I'm going to make sure that he has a good example. So that means I have to operate in excellence in order for him to operate in excellence. That way when he gets older, he's just like, all right, cool. I gotta operate in excellence, because my mom always operated in excellence. So being accountable and finding someone that will hold you to that excellence, and you're going to make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. You're not going to be perfect in everything. But if you can 85 to 90% of the time, sometimes even 95, depending on what area in life it is, operate in pure excellence, your life could change in a matter of weeks, months. And I've seen it happen to other people. I just haven't implemented it myself in my life for X, Y, and Z amount of excuses that I can come up with, y'all. Like, if we really sat here for days on end, I can come up with some excuses for y'all. Do you understand me? Because, baby, I'm going to come up with excuses just because. Oh, well, they did this. Or, well, they did that. Now, I keep saying they did. And they did that. I'm never holding myself accountable. I'm always saying what something outside has done. Someone outside has done. That is the second part about accountability that I want to mention, is you have to hold you accountable first. Not what other people did, not what life is doing, because other people are going to do them regardless. Life itself is going to do that regardless. Do you understand me? Life is going to life. Life is going to life with you doing what you need to do, or with you doing what you don't need to do. For example, have you ever heard anyone say time's going to pass regardless? For example, you have an older person that wants to go back to school, and they're just like, oh my God, that's going to take 4 years. That's too long of time, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody comes, well, the 4 years is going to pass either way. So you can either take the classes and be done in 4 years, or you can be in the same position that you're in right now in 4 years. Either way it goes, in 4 years, that time is going to pass. So you have to hold yourself accountable first, because whether or not you want to admit it, you were the person who stopped yourself from going back to school. You were the person who talked yourself out of starting the business. You were the person who didn't get up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. You were the person who didn't go and mail off the letter to reconcile with the family member. Regardless of what circumstances may have stopped you, whether it be outside sources, outside people, whatever, there was something that you did and you agreed to, that narrative that stopped you from doing what needed to be done to get to the goal you needed to get to. That is one thing that I've learned, is holding myself accountable first. Is when me and my son bump heads, because he's 14 and we're going to bump heads. Teenagers are going to teenage, okay? when I ask him to do something and he doesn't do it immediately. I'm always just so frustrated with him. Like, oh my God, why won't he just do what I say when I say do it? Or why won't he just go ahead and get it over with? But then when I do just an outlook on my life, I do the same thing. I do the exact same thing. When something needs to be done, I wait until the last second. I procrastinate. Things are not getting done. Why would I expect him to operate at a level that he's not seeing done on a consistent basis? So I'm holding myself accountable first. Does that mean that I'm not going to hold him accountable and I'm not going to get onto him about doing what I've said done? Absolutely not. Of course, I'm going to correct my child. That's not the issue. But I also have to remember, I have to set the example first. It starts with me in my house. It starts with me. So with it starting with me first, I can't be completely irate and upset with him about not doing something that I don't do myself. I can't hold someone else to a higher standard than I hold myself to. That is one thing that I learned, and I learned that in a romantic relationship wise. I can't expect someone to love me more than I love me. That's not possible. No one's going to love me more than I love me. No one's going to do for me more than I do for me. But that's something that I'm not just looking at in a romantic relationship wise, but in all aspects of my life. And that's something that I just absolutely have to hold myself accountable for. So that way, then when I'm holding my son accountable or anyone else accountable, they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I messed up. That's really on me. Versus them being able to come back, well, you don't do it. Why would I do it? Now, my son would never, because he like where his lip currently is placed. So, yeah. But this does not promote violence with children, by the way. I just want to point that out. But, so no one else could absolutely say that too, right? And accountability, it doesn't just start with you. It has to come from you. Like, you are the only person that can truly hold yourself accountable. You can have accountability partners and everything, like I said earlier, but if you don't do the work to change and commit and be consistent, you're not being accountable. You're just saying, ooh, I need to lose 5 pounds. I need to be accountable. Well, what are you doing? There has to be an action behind it. It has to be emotion behind it. It has to be movement that's happening. You have to be moving the needle. You have to be working towards it. It has to be you. Like, it has to be you. And that is one thing that this 12-week challenge that I'm doing is going to be able to help me break it down in bite-sized pieces in a way that's digestible, in a way that's easier for me to accomplish. And not saying that my goals are easy. They are not. My goal is not easy at all. But it makes more sense when it comes to what I have to do. I have to stretch myself for these goals, especially my financial ones. I have to stretch myself further than I've stretched myself because I want to go further in my finances than I've ever gone before. I don't want to stay where I'm at. But I also need to break it down in a way that makes it quote unquote easier to digest and actually accomplish. And it's not something like, oh, gotta make $1 million tomorrow. Well, that's easier said than done, ain't it? Because I bet you there's not a person in this world that'd be like, oh, gotta make $1 million tomorrow. I bet you everybody will want $1 million. But what have you done? What actions have you taken? What accountability have you checked yourself with in order to get that done? Let's take it back a step. Let's make $1,000 by the end of the month and save it. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's save $100 by the end of the week. That's in 5 days. If you go out there and make $20 a day, Instacart and DoorDash and mowing lawns, you can have $100 in 5 days. That's more bite-sized. $100 a week for the next 10 weeks gets you $1,000. No, that didn't happen a month, but it makes it more bite-sized. Now that you know how to make $1,000, let's make 2,000. Let's make 4. Let's double it. Let's triple it. Let's keep going. But you holding yourself accountable, because if you make $20 on Monday and skip Tuesday, when Wednesday comes, you're already behind. You're behind. So let's stay accountable, stay focused, and it starts with us. Another thing that I would like to hold myself accountable for in the 12 weeks while I'm doing my financial goals is my appearance and how I look when I walk out the house, walking around the house, just in general, because I'm a 30-year-old single woman and I want to look my absolute best at all times. I know in previous podcasts, y'all have seen me look super rough. Ooh, super, super rough. Your girl was out here struggling with a K, with a capital K at that. So that is why I've taken it upon myself to learn a new skill. TikTok and YouTube University, best teachers ever. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to look absolutely amazing. It's not going to look like I paid $245, $285, $350 to get this hairstyle done that I'm doing, these knotless braids. And it's 1:39 in the morning, y'all. It was a lot. However, it's going to look better than it is. It's going to look like I actually took some time and effort to get myself together. It's going to look like I'm a little bit more put together than I was in the past 5 episodes. And I can only laugh at myself because your girl's been struggling for years on appearance. And it's not something that I was taught. But just because I wasn't taught something doesn't mean I'm not accountable for the outcome of that. And not saying I wasn't taught to walk outside looking great. My grandma was very big on your toes better be done and your hair better be done before you walk out the house. We lived in Texas. Walking around barefoot and with your sandals was very popular. And your hair better be done before you walk out the house. So, not saying I wasn't taught, but there were certain things about my appearance that I was not taught growing up. And just because you weren't taught something doesn't mean you're not accountable for it. Perfect example. Just because you don't know what the speed limit is when you on a street, don't mean you're not accountable for when that state patrolman pull you over. that don't mean nothing. Do you understand me? Because Alabama State Patrol and Georgia State Patrol gonna get you every time. Oh, they gonna get you every time. Every time. I am speaking from experience. Especially GSP. Oh. They gonna get you every time. So just because you don't know something does not mean you being ignorant to the law does not excuse you from it. So being accountable. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at myself because I'm going back in my head a few years from when I got a super speeder ticket. Y'all, it hurt my feelings so bad. That ticket was stupid dumb. It's stupid expensive. Shout out to my moms for helping your girl out with that, because your girl was young, Jaden was young, it was so much going on. Whew, thank the Lord for a mother, because your girl hurt. But that's neither here nor there. So I have learned a new skill. I have learned to braid my hair. I've learned to do something on my own without necessarily having to go to the salon to get it done. Will I be back in Ayana's chair? Absolutely. Will I be back in Maya's chair? Absolutely. Because I will pay for convenience as long as I can afford it. Do you understand me? Because having my time back is important. I will pay for convenience. But until then, until these finances get to look in the way they need to look, and get to getting the way they need to get, we gonna be practicing some skills, okay? And now my sister want to be on my books. What? How does that even work? I done held myself accountable to looking nice, and my sister just like, oh, can you hold yourself accountable to be me looking nice too? What? How does that work, sister? Explain it to me. Your big sister learned a skill, and little sister over here like, help me too. But that goes into being accountable and it just trickling down. Me being accountable for myself is going to trickle down to my son. Me being the oldest of 9 kids and me being accountable is going to set a better example to my little siblings. And just think about not only how my life is going to change by holding my own self accountable, but how it's going to benefit them in the long run too. Because now they're just like, okay, I want to live like how my big sister's living. How do I do that? Well, let me start doing the stuff that she do. Let me start holding myself accountable, and how their lives change. And you can change like a whole family dynamic like that. Ooh, don't get me started on generational curses, because we don't have time for that today. But accountability can change some of that. Do you understand me? Whew. Y'all gonna make me preach on today's podcast, and I don't have time. But the main takeaway is, first start by taking a self-reflection time on yourself and figuring out yourself what you think you need to work on. Step 2, find someone who's going to be honest with you, very sweet about it, i.e. very gentle with you, but it's going to be harsh enough that you need to have a reality check. But it's going to give you constructive criticism, and it's going to deliver it in a way that is consumable for you. They talk about love language. Well, communication between two people also falls into that, because sometimes the way that you communicate things to other people does not get received the way that you meant to go out there. And it's not just, oh, it is what it is, I said what I said. No, because if you're not saying it in the way that's digestible for them, it's going to come off harsh, and it's going to be seen as harsh, and you're not being productive for that person. Don't do that. Find someone who is going to hold you accountable in a way that is digestible for you. Also, make a plan. Be consistent with the plan. Check into your plan on a daily basis and get it done. Be consistent. Check in with yourself. Check in with me. Check in on here. Comment below what you are going to hold yourself accountable for. Let me know. Let me know on my TikTok page what you're going to start holding yourself accountable for. What is going to be the first thing that you're going to challenge yourself to do? And it doesn't have to be the 12 weeks like me. For me, it's 12 weeks because I happen to be reading the 12-week year right now by Brian P. Morgan and Michael Linnington. I think that's how you pronounce that. But that is the reason why mine is 12 weeks. Not because I necessarily want to go this long in order to save that much money. I really want to save it shorter. But we're going to break it down in 12 weeks. Yours could be in 4 weeks. You can start smaller. You do not have to go so big. But let's set a plan. Let's do the things that need to be done. Let's get it done. And just because it's the end of the year doesn't mean you can't start on what you started at the beginning of the year. That doesn't mean you can't pick it up. It's not too late. And it's never too early to start on next year's goals. Never. You don't have to wait until January 1st or 2nd, because most people start on the 2nd. Do what it is that you want to do. But I appreciate you guys coming back to the podcast. Shout out to some new subscribers out there. I see y'all. And I appreciate y'all so much for taking the time to listen. Whew, your girl worked hard for this hairstyle and is working hard to change and be accountable. Thank y'all again for listening, and I can't wait to see y'all on the next episode. Bye.